Hey everyone, welcome to Tool Talk with Heather
and Amber.
Today we're here to discuss nutrition stalemates. Oh boy, do we hear all of the things about why you can't do good nutrition all of the time. So we've narrowed it down though to three main topics: time, consistency, and education. So I'll start first with time. I have heard more than once from different people who say to me, I don't have time to focus on my food right now, so I'm not going to start watching what I eat or do a diet. And the other thing that I hear often is, I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to start eating well until I get back because I don't want to worry about what I'm going to eat while I'm on vacation. So my response to both of those is, OMG, are you kidding me? It's just food. It's not complicated.
But we make it complicated sometimes when it doesn't need to be. And I want to say, I travel a lot.
Yes, you do.
And one of the things that I've had to really work on is my nutrition when I'm traveling, because I fly a lot, so I can't always, I bring some food with me when I travel, but I can't like meal prep and take my food with me. So I have to make smart choices on the road and in the air, and you have to know this ahead of time and have a plan to be able to know what you're going to do. And when I go on vacation, listen, if you map out on your calendar all of your vacations, all of the birthdays, all of the celebrations, all of the reasons that you are going to have some type of a celebration where there's food and potentially alcohol involved for those of you that might partake. Look at how many days in your year you would be like, oh, can't focus on my nutrition because I have this.
There would be a lot.
Yes, there is a lot. And if you don't have a plan in place, you're always going to fail at that. And for a lot of people that we work with, we have a lot of people that are all or nothing.
Yes.
And so they think that if they went to this party and they had a couple drinks and some appetizers, that they've completely failed. And then that just knocks them off of any of the good habits that we had them going on for a while. So one of the things that I want you to think about is, if you can't do this, if you can't eat well and healthy during inconvenient times, then you're always going to be restarting. So we need to have a mindset shift in the fact to realize that you can enjoy life. You can have some of your favorite foods, but it can't be treat yourself just every single flipping day or every single weekend, because that is not going to be realistic for having a healthy diet. And newsflash, I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to offend a lot of you, but I have more people come to me and say, I eat pretty well or I eat pretty healthy. Newsflash, you don't.
No.
Because if you aren't controlling your food intake, if you aren't making the majority of your food, if you're eating out of packages, if you're picking up a lot of to go and fast even from food, good restaurants and fast food and grabbing shakes and bars here and there, you don't really eat that healthfully. And I don't want to offend you, but we need to be realistic about this, and then we need to look at how we can change that and make it better.
And it is doable, 100%.
Oh yeah, and you don't have to be perfect.
No.
I'm not saying, we must eat like salad and
well,
chicken
a lot of times
day.
The salads that you get from fast food places or restaurants have more calories than a burger and a small fry would be. So you've got to really look at what it is that you're putting in your mouth versus what better choice you could make. Because you could literally go through a drive-through line of any fast food restaurant and pick out something that was healthy.
Yeah.
But if you planned in advance, you could bring something from home that you knew was healthy because you knew what ingredients were in it.
Yes.
You had control over what it was you were eating.
This is true.
So the time leads to the consistency. So consistency, I have heard, again, more than once, well, this diet that I did like 10 years ago, I lost like 30 pounds. I'm like, great. So, where are you now? Well, I'm like 50 pounds heavier than I was then. So, that tells me, number one, that diet didn't work because you're still not doing it. To me, an only successful diet, if you want to use that word, is one that you are still maintaining what you lost 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's doable 100%. So, consistency is key when it comes to eating well.
Yeah, and in regards to that, with it not working, the thing is, I want you to think about this and what that means with what Heather said is that if this isn't something that you can do for the long term, then it's not going to work. This has to be a part of your life.
A lifestyle change.
Yes. And it has to be something that you are willing to do for the rest of your life. I'll use myself as an example. I, for a very short time period, competed in figure competitions. And I ate a very strict, very restricted diet, really low calorie. It was terrible. I would never do it again. And I've learned so much since then. But the thing about it is that is not something sustainable for me. It's not sustainable for my lifestyle now. And it certainly isn't something that would sustain my body for the energy that I needed. I was just trying to get stage ready. But that's the thing, is that if you're eating a certain way, if you can't think like, okay, 5 years, 10 years down the road, I'm going to continue to eat this way, it's not something you need to do, because you're going to stop. And for a lot of these fad diets that are out there, as soon as you stop, your body is primed to gain fat, and you're going to gain all of the weight back that you lost and then some. And if you're listening and you're like, Amber, I have dieted in the past, I want you to think about that. How many times have you gained your weight back and then some? So if these things aren't working, we've got to do something else. And the biggest thing with consistency is something you can do all the time. So I eat healthy, and I can also do that when I travel, and that can be consistent in my life. Sometimes I have to make a few changes here and there, but it's definitely something that doesn't only happen when I'm home.
And consistency doesn't equal perfection.
No.
By a long shot. At all. So a lot of times there are very imperfect moments that happen to the best of us, but relying on this consistency that we have already established is so much easier to stay on track for the duration.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of that. We were driving the other day up to the beach, and I had my food prepped, and it was in the cooler, but I forgot to alert my sweet husband that he needed to put the cooler where I could get to it. So he stopped to get himself something to eat, and I was like, oh no, I can't get to my food in the cooler. So there was a Chick-fil-A there, so I walked over, and you know what? I was able to get almost my exact meal that I had cooked for myself from Chick-fil-A. I got the marketplace salad. I just had them leave the cheese off, and I don't know, they had granola or something. I was like, ew, my salad, no thank you. And then I got one of the lower calorie dressings and just grilled chicken. It was not that hard, and it was delicious. I was like, wow, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, is that when Heather said it doesn't have to be perfect, you just learn to make those choices when you're going along that would be very close to what you would have been eating anyway.
Right. And that leads us right into the last point, education. You have to be properly educated. Now, I'm not talking about educated, again, in perfection, but properly educated in good, healthy nutrition to know what decisions to make to help you with your consistency and your time. And a lot of times our education, if you will, comes from, share with us.
Oh, people listen to influencers on the internet, their doctor or their nurse, which don't come for me in this one, but I'm going to tell you that the majority of the medical profession has no clue about nutrition. They have none. And one of my biggest pet peeves and what I don't understand is I don't understand why doctors don't work with registered dietitians for the nutrition piece for their patients, because that's where most of them need to be. And then they need to work with us, fitness professionals, to help with the exercise and the movement part. But yes, so I've heard some terrible things come out of doctors' mouths, and it's not their fault. They didn't get the education that, you know, that like we have for nutrition or registered dietitians. The other part is diet culture. I mean, we've been sold, you know, Heather and I came up during a time, because we're close in age. I mean, diets were just everywhere.
And everybody's aunt or grandmother was on one at one point, and everybody's weight went down, and then it would go right back up.
Yes. Like, you know, I have family members that did Weight Watchers. And
Shakely.
The Cleveland Clinic diet. You know, all of these things that is like, oh my gosh, they're terrible when you look at that. But that's a big part of why people don't know what to eat, because you're told 1 minute that butter is bad, and then somebody else tells you to put butter in your coffee, and
or the eggs.
Don't eat eggs because it raises your cholesterol. Yes. But now eggs are okay, right? Yeah. And then we had the South Beach diet, where everybody was just eating nothing but meat. You know, oh God forbid, let's not eat fruits and vegetables. So, and then your friend or your neighbor or your aunt or your sister, they did this and this helped them and they lost weight. And I always tell people, I'm like, just sit back and wait
and watch
what happens. Tell me if they can keep that weight off for the next 5 years or the next 10 years. And that's not me being negative or rude. And
it's just honest.
And it's not about the person. Like, I'm not saying that the person doesn't have their life together. They've just been sold a bill of goods that isn't really great. And so you want to work with someone who is well educated in nutrition. So we tell you all the time, Heather and I both are nutrition coaches, certified nutrition coaches. We can help you with healthy eating. And we don't have you take a bunch of supplements. We don't tell you that you can't have carbohydrates. You know, everything we teach our clients is for them to understand about food and to be able to eat well for their health and to balance it out. And the other thing too is so that they have amazing energy, because that's another piece of the puzzle. It's not just about your weight, it's also about how you feel. So if you're eating food that makes you feel like crap, well, that's not good. And that's the other thing. I find a lot of people eat terribly and they don't realize how badly they feel until they start eating better, and they're like, oh, I feel so much better, I have better energy, my digestion is better. And those things count, you know, not just the scale.
No, and a lot of times eating nowadays is just out of quick, like just something I have to get done, instead of it being more beneficial. It's more about the lack of time that we think that we have, and that's what drives our food choices most of the time. So if you just make sure that you focus on your time and your consistency and your education, and listen here, education doesn't mean that it's complicated.
Right.
It blows my mind about how people think, how they make nutrition difficult. It's really not. Once you understand, here I'm knocking stuff down because I'm getting all excited. It's once you understand what it is that you need to focus on, it's just like second nature. You literally will look at a piece of food and go, oh, that will work for me, or no, that won't work for me. That's basically what it boils down to. Is this, what I'm having in my hand, going to help me reach my goals? Period. Whether it's for lower cholesterol or lower blood pressure or stronger muscles or, you know, a better night's sleep, you know, literally that's the only thing you need to ask yourself. Will this, what was the famous saying? A moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips, right?
I just saw that in a TV show.
That's what it boils down to, you know. You have to make sure that what you're putting in your mouth will help you. Because most of the time, if you're just doing it for time and the lack of planning, whatever it is you're eating is not going to be beneficial, and it's just basically a waste that will just sit on your waist forever.
Yeah. And I think too, just to kind of shift, so what do they do for the education piece? You know, we have a lot of ways that we help people. We have some online programs that you can go through to understand. Actually, it's called Nutrition Basics, and it just takes you through the basics of nutrition. And Heather and I are always offering different coaching, group coaching programs and things like that, just to help people understand that nutrition piece. we do everything very basic and easy and not crazy. No, we don't tell you to follow some crazy diet
right, or
anything
count numbers and all of that stuff. Sorry, I just throw that in there.
Yeah, I know. And although I like to teach people about how to understand like macronutrients and how many calories you need, it's not necessarily that you have to count them all the time.
Right.
Especially once you learn what to eat, and then we talk about portion sizes, and it can make it just really easy. You can just use your hand to help you eyeball your portion sizes.
Yes. All the tools that you possibly could need are
right
here.
Right here.
Right here.
So easy and supportive and positive.
So don't let the nutrition stalemates that we've talked about in this episode hold you back from your goals and feeling better and having more energy and looking the best that you can in your body. So everybody remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Can't wait. Bye.
Bye.